Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Here's Eddie Frederick.
Welcome to Caribbean Perspective. So glad you can join us. The story that takes the lead in today's edition for Wednesday, 22nd January 2022, and brought to you in association with our friends at Antillean Group. An attorney attached to the opposition in Trinidad and Tobago fears that defense attorneys may be next on the criminals' radar. Details after this important message.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all, perils big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so glad to see. Peace of mind, that's our service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Antillean Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
Welcome back. Attorney Wayne Sturge warns that criminal defense attorneys in Trinidad and Tobago will soon become targets themselves, as he claims that clients are threatening them over the prolonged duration of trials. Renessa Cutting of TV6 News reports.
On the heels of the shooting death of State Prosecutor Randall Hector, criminal defense attorney Wayne Sturge is sounding an alarm.
I believe it will get worse. And yes, there is an attack. There's no evidence that the killing in Kumoto Manzanilla is anything but a human invasion at this point. But we've had 2 prosecutors killed in the last 10 years. So it is not unfathomable that if things remain the same, there's likely to be, some more. I'm not wishing it. We are hoping against it.
His comments come on the heels of the Prisons Officers Association reporting heightened threats to its officers during the SOE. Sturge says defense attorneys are not exempt.
Having heard some of the things that persons at the elements say, it's not going to stop at prosecutors. Very soon they'll come after us, because there are many prisoners who say that they blame the defense lawyers for the delay in the criminal justice system, when the truth is we have no control. We can only try to pressure for a start. But there are prisoners who have said, just now we'll start killing you all out. So it's out there. It's quite possible. And after the defense lawyers, who next?
Sturge is of the opinion that the state points fingers at the judicial system for the state of crime in this country. But he says they are not addressing the root of the problem, which is crime detection and prevention.
You can't leave people in limbo. They always say our system is like Alice in Wonderland, because for much of the crime, the punishment is a deprivation of liberty. But the reality is people are charged, deprived of their liberty for many years, in fact, sometimes even as much as 20 years, and then they win. So that's in essence Alice in Wonderland, where the king said, well, you are guilty, now let's hear the evidence. That can't continue to be the status quo.
Sturge says another key element in the fight against crime is the cleaning up of the police service. He had the following advice.
If you have a PSB, a Professional Standards Bureau in Trinidad and Tobago, staffed with local police officers, do you really think that things can be kept secret? No. There are ways in which persons are alerted. So PSB investigates police officers, but I've seen instances where PSB or officers in PSB notified persons who they say were their batch, that's the term. And if they do that, they in essence frustrate the process. What you need to do, it doesn't take a very large contingent, but you need persons from outside.
Renessa Cutting, TV6 News.
Antigua's Education Minister Darrell Matthew says government is committed to making Five Islands the centerpiece of its national education development strategy. He was speaking on Monday at the groundbreaking for the new Five Islands Primary School as part of the expansion of the University of the West Indies Five Islands campus. Shanakisha Francis of ABS News filed this report.
Minister Matthew highlights the strategic acquisition of 10 acres of land which could accommodate future expansions.
In the primary school that we are now building are spaces for early childhood education as well. So unless the need arises, we may not have to build a purpose-built early childhood center because students are going to be accommodated within the new primary school within that age group. So at some point in time, the need may arise for us to build a new secondary school, and that is certainly allocated. There's allocated space for that.
Minister Matthews' vision for the area includes not only educational institutions, but also a thriving community with several small businesses.
Five Islands will become an educational town where you'd have all of those amenities that support education and students and people, particularly young people. So barbers and small businesses and restaurants, and maybe for the older ones, a bar here or there for the age-appropriate students. The entire surrounding environment in Five Islands will change over the next few years.
Parliamentary Representative for St. John's Rural West, Honorable Richard Lewis, echoes that vision, but emphasizes the need for enhanced infrastructure.
We have our road infrastructure that we definitely have to deal with. And if you're talking about establishing a university city, you have to make sure that the surrounding facilities are in keeping.
Officials say the new primary school is the first step in what is expected to be the transformative development of the community. Shanakisha Francis, ABS News.
St. Lucia's Prime Minister Philip J.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick,
in association with our friends at
Antillean Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
Mayor has addressed the recent surge in crime and violence, disrupting peace in 2025. He emphasized that while some individuals attempt to leave criminal activities behind, societal stigmatization often forces them back into illegal employment. To combat this, the Prime Minister vowed to remove barriers that hinder reintegration, aiming to help citizens reach their full potential and reduce crime and violence. Manassas Stanislaus of DBS News World reports.
Highlighting the link between productivity, employment, and the current crime situation, Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre urged citizens not to let stigmas hold them back. He stressed that although some may be born into challenging circumstances, it is their mindset that sets them apart. His government, he assured, will provide equal opportunities for all.
The people stigmatize themselves, and they say to themselves, because I'm from that part, I will not get anything. I'm the Prime Minister of St. Lucia. You know where I live? I live in Cashis East, no, Cashis North, for example. We must develop a mentality of progress, and we must develop a mentality of fighting the odds. We must stop making these excuses and say because people come from a certain part of the country, they are doomed.
Reiterating the importance of reputation and moral values, Pierre called on parents to instill discipline and values in their children, stating this could lead to a long-term decrease in crime. He also encouraged individuals to take advantage of resources available to empower themselves and to avoid a life of crime.
We can make all these excuses. Of course, opportunities are not the same for everybody. And that is why the government is creating all these avenues for opportunity. There's a National Skills Development Center where you go and you learn a skill. So we must not make excuses. We understand that opportunities are not the same. We are trying to create more opportunity for everyone.
The MP for Soufrière Font Saint-Jacques, Emma Hippolyte, supported the Prime Minister's sentiments, emphasizing the need for youth engagement in self-employment to prevent idleness, which often leads to illegal activities. She outlined new measures implemented to curb crime in her constituency and offered words of encouragement to citizens amidst the ongoing challenges.
My conversation with the SMMA just over the weekend is that they have increased the patrol of the Soufrière Bay to ensure that we have safety of our yachts and so on. I think that's important for us based on some of the challenges that we have. Today, unfortunately, we were informed last night that there was a homicide in Soufrière We are in continuous conversation with the police to get the information.
The government remains committed to fostering an environment where citizens can achieve their fullest potential. The Soufrière MP urged citizens to respect life and embrace peace, reinforcing the administration's dedication to creating a safer, more prosperous St. Lucia. For the DBS News World, Manasseh Stanislas reporting.
Barbados' Prime Minister Mia Mottley wants opportunities provided that facilitate the freedom of movement across the region. Ms. Mottley, who is the current chair of CARICOM, stressed on the importance of this, hoping it can be achieved this year. Ms. Mottley also wants countries to return to completing the CARICOM single market and economy.
We've done it over the years by looking at different sectors. Graduates and agricultural workers and security workers were the last two, I think, that came on. Media practitioners, artists, they were all there before. We have, as governments in the region, determined that we would want to extend this now to all categories of people. And I hope that we can bring this to full fruition. We were to see it happen in 2024, but there was a delay in aspects of its implementation. Fundamentally, we need to strengthen our economies and we need to put them on a trajectory for inclusive growth. And note that I said inclusive growth, not just growth at the macro level, but growth that permeates down to all of our people. So I hope that the frameworks, particularly for the mutual recognition of companies. Why should I be forming a company in Barbados and have to come to Suriname and form it again when all that is perhaps needed is a recognition certificate that says this is a duly formed company, rather than putting the person through the time and expense of so doing. We hope that we will see major progress on the establishment of the regional capital markets. There's a lot of liquidity in the region.
In the meantime, Prime Minister Mottley wants the Caribbean, after formulating a strategy to tackle the escalating challenges of crime and violence, to work on implementing the George Bridge Declaration this year. The landmark document was unveiled during the second regional symposium, Violence as a Public Health Issue, the Crime Challenge, hosted by Barbados in Guyana. Ms. Mottley, in a sit-down interview, said the declaration is anchored on the working definition of crime and violence as a public health issue.
We were able to settle on a range of measures, from those that look at criminal justice reform, legislative reform, those that look at violence as a public health disease and what we must do in the medium to long term to be able to change how our people treat to conflict and how our people see themselves, so as to minimize the opportunities for crime that would otherwise exist. We have taken a decision to engage someone, a former Attorney General of the region, to help us lead in this effort, because it was felt that someone must come to work every day, given the extent to which the region wants to see urgent change and indeed modernization of its criminal justice sector, while at the same time strengthening law enforcement and being far more efficient.
With the US and other Western countries showing little sign of swift, tough action over what many of them have condemned as voting fraud in Venezuela, the opposition leader there has pledged to negotiate with President Maduro for a smooth transition, offering him all the guarantees for his future. CBS Miami News has more.
This morning, the leader of Venezuela's opposition says she is open to negotiating guarantees for President Nicolas Maduro to relinquish power.
We are certainly willing to move ahead into a negotiation process in which we are willing to give Maduro and the regime the guarantees so that these could move smoothly, orderly, as fast as possible.
Now, this comes as the U.S. and other Western countries are showing little sign of swift, tough action over what many of them have condemned as voting fraud. Most governments have demanded that Venezuela's National Electoral Council release a full voting tally after Maduro and his opposition candidate Edmundo Gonzalez both declared that they won the election. Protests have also been widespread and many have been put in jail.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel for daily regional news and more, in association with our friends at Antillian Group.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. protection from all perils big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so clear to see. Peace of mind, that's a service guarantee. We look after all our family, yes we do at every opportunity.
Antillean Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.